Welcome to Out Loud, everyone. And we are again in Melbourne, Australia on this episode. But this time we were with Australia. And I have to say, you're a bit of an icon at this point in time. Your name is synonymous with so many different things in Australia. But we have with us Mr. Greg Gould. Greg, welcome to Out Loud.
Hello. Your beautiful accent, and you still got my name right. I love it. It's beautiful.
We
I
have
get
lots of
gold.
Goulds
I get
here.
good. Oh, good. Oh, good. Yes. Well, gold is the way.
I know some people may pronounce it gold
Well,
sometimes. I'm
I
like,
get surprised. I'm like, I don't understand because you know what a ghoul is without the D. You just add the
yeah.
D. But yeah, I get surprised how many people do get my name wrong. It's not something that I consider as a difficult name. But yeah, I've heard some different things, the different ways of good. It's just like, how do you get the? It's not like there's no R in my name. Like I've heard some crazy things. Anyway, it's
Well,
so
I'm
great
glad
to
I
be
did it
here.
right. I'm glad I did it right.
You did.
Um,
You get top spelling.
you're here with us because you have a brand new song coming out, and it's coming out lickety split. When people see this, it probably is the day that it is arriving, and it is with the wonderful from the Philippines. And you're going to have to fill me in a little bit on
Yes.
this vocalist because I looked her up. Her name is Morissette, and
Yes.
what a fantastic artist. I need to know how this kind of came about. But yeah, brand new song with Morissette. Tell us
She's
all about it.
phenomenal. Her voice is out of this world. It just has no boundaries. I have been a fan of her voice for many, many years, and I probably should talk about the song and how that came about.
Sure.
So, the song has been with me and in my heart for about 4 or 5 years. I first demoed it for Tanya Doko. So Tanya Doko, for anyone that doesn't know, is the lead singer of Bachelor Girl, who had some big hits in the 90s. So she had that song, So I walked under a bus, I got hit by a train, which, I mean, that went big around the world. So she's a dear friend of mine, and she got asked to submit songs for the Australian entry for Eurovision. And this song is a song that she'd sat on for a long time because it's a song that means a lot to her. And so she asked me to demo it, and straight away I was like, "Oh, this song is beautiful." We got to the top 40 for the year of songs, but didn't quite make it to the final. And I wasn't working on original music at the time, so I sort of put it aside, continued on, did my thing. And then it was time in last year. I said, "Right, it's time to do an original album." I've never, can you believe, done an original album ever. This is my first original album. I was on Australia's Got Talent 10 years ago, and I just spitballed that from it ever since. Lots of touring. I've released a covers album, a duets covers album. I've written lots of covers, but I think I had a lot of false starts in original music. So I'm finally here, and I thought I've got to have this song. So I was talking to Tanya, and she said, "Wouldn't it be great as a duet?" And I said, "Who in the entire world would I want to collaborate on this song?" And she was my first choice, and I, it was like throwing a dart at the board, and I got a bullseye with Morissette because she really loved the song. We got on Zoom, we chatted to each other. She loved it, and she wanted to be part of it. So that, yeah, after being a fan of her voice for so long, so she got her start at the same time as me. She was on The Voice 10 years ago, but I know her from her viral videos. She's got many viral videos, and why wouldn't she? Because she's such a great singer. And yeah, so we're here now, and we're releasing this incredible duet together, and I couldn't be prouder.
And it takes me back very much. So the song is called Love It All Out.
Yes.
And it reminds me it's a classic duet. It really is. What I mean by that is that, today a lot of folks are thrown onto a song. And I mean that's fine. It's kind of the standard of what's been happening in a lot in the pop world, is that you either have a song yourself or you have somebody remix it and they do a vocal piece on it, or
and
you have
and
some.
and because of the way that the digital platforms are happening, Spotify and streaming, there is a lot of collaborations happening. And yeah, I totally get where you're coming with this.
But this is a classic duet. This is two people who really are into a song, who know and who come together. And it is a true full collaboration. It takes me back
Ah,
to some of those, some of those days back, and I don't want to age myself too much, but I remember, when duets used to be, oh my God, they're on a song together. It's not just you're coming in for a piece. It
it's
is
not
a
a
whole
collaboration, it's an actual written love lifts us up
yeah,
where we belong. And
exactly.
like, don't go breaking
Exactly.
my heart. I couldn't if I tried. Totally.
It's
Duets with duets.
and it's nice to see that because we don't see as much of that anymore because of the digital age, because of how fast we can make things happen and how easy it is for folks to kind of just drop a piece onto
Yeah.
a song. So it's really fantastic to see this happening because, again, somebody who remembers a little bit of, those kinds
Me
of
too, me too, me too. I must say that makes me really, really happy because this song actually wasn't originally written as a duet. That means we've done our job. That means the way we've constructed it and made it into a duet. Which I mean, it's not to say that it couldn't be a duet, but it's we've clearly done our job of creating a song together and made it feel like a duet. So
from
that
a
makes me very happy.
from a production standpoint and from a vocal standpoint, yeah, you have. You would think that you both got into the room at the same time and said, "Okay, we're gonna lay this down," and you worked into the wee hours over the course of like a long weekend
In
and
my
laid all
dream,
the
we did
tracks.
that.
But that's
In my dream, we did that. I actually have not had the pleasure of meeting Morissette yet. Could you believe that? That's
well,
the world we live in right now. We've zoomed, and actually, funnily enough, she was in Sydney, Australia, where I'm in Melbourne. She was in Sydney on the 9th of December for a show, and I was in Sydney on the 9th of December performing at the Opera House. We didn't get a chance to catch up, unfortunately, but she was
busy
literally in the
people.
same city at the same time. But yeah, we've not had the pleasure, but it's something I know the universe will make that happen at some point. But it's kind of like this. We don't need to be together in the same room, so but we're still so connected.
I would say the universe is going to make this happen because I think that I, it will shock me to no end if you do not have a lot of folks coming out and supporting this song, because I do think it has that sensibility, that a bit of a throwback. It is firmly in today's adult contemporary kind of pop standard in terms of like the sound of it, the
Yes,
quality of it, but it has that nostalgia to it where you remember those great moments of
it's
duets.
got a
And
classicness to it.
yeah,
I,
completely.
like it's like I think of like a Mariah Carey ballad or yeah, it has that classic balladness feel to it. Yeah,
When
I think that does come down to production too. Michael Tan, he's incredible. He did the Commonwealth Games here. He's an ARIA, so the Australian version of the Grammy, the ARIAs.
yeah,
He's an ARIA award-winning producer and a dear friend of mine, and he really knocked it out the park. Like it's one of those like I'm very hands-on with my music. When I work, I like to get in there and I co-produce my songs with the producer. With this one, to be honest, minor tweaks. I was blown away by what he did from the get-go.
and it comes across that way. I think that, as I was saying, like it just sounds like you both got into a room with some session players and went, hit record. We're gonna lay these tracks down. We're gonna do this right now. And
Yeah,
it's hard to get that quality of sound coming out because things are so digital. Because people we've kind of gotten lazy, and I guess it's not lazy, it's just the convenience of it. It used to
and
be
it's
people
yeah,
did have to get together.
samples and electronics
Yeah.
and hey, it's got its place, but this kind of has that classic feel, as we said, of a time where music was real music.
Yeah, and obviously, to your producer's credit, he understands that, that world and where that music comes from, and how it sits in that world and how it needs to sound,
Yeah,
because it lifts off the ear, like I said, so easily, and it's just got such
lifts off the
nostalgia to
ear.
it.
Can I quote you on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Some of my analogies and metaphors sometimes don't land so well, but that one you can have.
Oh, you and me both. My vocabulary. Someone like, is he speaking English?
So with this song, and again, you said, like it took you a long while to get to the point to actually do an album, and this is going to be off the album, and the album is called, and I have it written down here,
Strings attached.
Strings Attached, right there. Um, is this going to be a soon album, or is this more of a mid-year album that you're working towards? And I know that you've had some originals, and I'll ask you about that in just a second.
Sure.
But I'm assuming that some of those songs are going to make it onto the album. Is that fair?
Yes. Yes. So I had 3 singles last year. I had a song called Marching On, which was written about our community. I had another song called Just a Man, which was kind of a letter to myself, to be kinder to myself, that I'm just a man, I can only do my best. And it was very much about mental health and sort of like a self-help thing. I had another beautiful ballad called Come Home, which I'm not done with yet. I feel like you talked earlier about placing someone in for a duet version. I feel like that song needs a duet version. I'll find the right female for that. And then this is the next single, well, the 4th single off the album, but the first of 2024. In terms of releasing the album, we were going to release it in April, but I don't want to rush these songs. And I reckon there's a few more singles in it before that. So it'll be a mid-year, I would say, album. But I'm hoping to get out as soon as possible.
It must be exciting because, as you mentioned, you like to do covers. There's a gentleman in the UK I'm not sure if you're familiar with, by the name of Paul Middleton, he's got that that timbre in his voice, kind of like yourself, and he loves to reimagine his classic songs or songs that are important to him, and really kind of put them out in a different way, in a different take. And you really do that with, I mean, looking at some of your covers, I mean, you have anything from George Brown on Vogue, that, come on, to Bittersweet Symphony and the Verve. So you have like
Well, so funny that
range.
you mentioned Bittersweet Symphony. That is with Tanya Doka, who wrote Love It All Out. Um, Look, I mentioned the false starts in original music for me were off the back of Australia's Got Talent. I was offered a record deal with Sony Music, but the song was terrible.
Mm.
I actually said to in one of the meetings, "Did you watch me on the show? Did you listen to what I like?" I was singing "Purple Rain" by Prince, Nina Simone's "Feeling Good," Arthur Hamilton's "Cry Me a River." Like, I'm a soul singer at heart, and the song just was tacky and terrible, and it felt like they just wanted me to be the Mardi Gras gay flag. Like, and I'm all for that. I'm there. I've marched in many a Mardi Gras, and I love that. But there's more to me than just being gay. You know, I represent my community. I love my community, and I am gay, and I'm proud to be an artist that is queer. But my music doesn't have, it's just like they were slapping a rainbow flag on me, and I just think that's, there's more to, I have more to say than that, and I have more respect for myself than to sell out like that. So I said no to that deal. Then I signed to an independent label that tried to put me in a box and almost bullied me, to be honest. It felt like I was constantly, and I lost me. That was one of the worst experiences of my life. My mental health suffered because after being on a show like that, you want to follow up that success, and I feel like they pushed me backwards in a lot of ways. So it wasn't until I released the cover of the En Vogue song in 2017, that was 13, 14, so 14, 15, 16, 4 years after Australia's Got Talent, independently, which was, so I left that record label in November. I released this in, I think, February or March. So I was bubbling and itching to get something out there on my own terms. And that went gangbusters, 20 million views of the video, viral. Got to re-record the song with the lead singer of En Vogue and tour with her, which was, and is still a pinch me moment every single day. I'm like, what? That happened? Like, I grew up loving En Vogue, all of their songs are amazing. And
when you're talking soul, come on.
Never gonna get it, never gonna get in, never gonna get it, never.
Funky Divas to this day is still one of the best albums.
Yes. Free your mind. And she's one of the nicest people on the planet, Maxine Jones.
Yes.
Anyway, so because of that, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna hit the ground running. And I followed up with because that was a 90s cover. I did a 90s duets cover album because I thought, why not go with what's working? I'd just come at it, as I said, out of a bad experience. I wasn't really ready to tell my story with my original music. So some of these songs, the song I mentioned before, the second single, Just a Man, that was from 2015, 16.
Right.
There's other songs on the album that go back to 2000 and who knows, 2010, 2011 when I first started writing music. And then there's other songs that I wrote last year or this year even. So it's really a kaleidoscope of songs that over the last 10 years, a decade of my life.
I find those shows though too, and I mean not to bag on them, they do what they do, they are what they are. And you know, when you come out of shows like that, and when you think about the song that's presented to the winner or could be the winner's song, they tend to be in a certain kind of vein, and they're not made necessarily for that artist. They're a bit of a cookie cutter
They're already
style,
chosen before the show. Yeah,
completely.
for sure. I mean, there's some good ones. I liked Kelly Clarkson's "A Moment Like This,"
But I
but
think, you
it's
know what? I think Kelly Clarkson, in spite of that song, made that song really interesting and really good because she knew how to deliver that type of song.
it can be a
Um,
bad delivery for sure. I
yeah.
mean, this particular song was pretty bad that they
Oh,
offered me. It was a really tacky dance track that with terrible lyrics, and literally in the middle of it went body talk,
oh God.
and I was like, literally, I think in the meeting I literally verbally gasped like, oh, like, like there's no way they could have, like, they saw my face.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I've been waiting for the right singer for this. I'm like, it ain't me.
No, I
Anyway,
mean, if you follow again, if you follow along the show, and if you look at the clips from the show of what you're singing, it really shows who you are as an artist and where you're, you know, where you're headed, where your heart lies in music.
it certainly gave an idea of the sort of songs that like Purple Rain, Prince, like, and it didn't have to. I could have done pop. I'm happy to do pop music. There is some great pop songs on this new album that haven't got that much soul in them. I mean, I sing with soul, so no matter what I put my stamp on, it's going to have a bit of soul to it. You
Well,
know,
it's the
I always say
arrangement
I
that
never
you
sing the
bring to
song the
them.
same. I never sing the song the same way twice. I feel it every single time. So yeah.
I would say that you know who you are as an artist, and when you get into that arrangement, that you don't stick to Prince did it his way. You're going to do it your way. The arrangement changes up to make it. It's like okay. First of all, and folks, if you're watching this, you need to kind of go to YouTube and check out some videos, or Spotify and listen to some songs, because when you think about Bittersweet Symphony, and I mean it's you know what that sound is, or if you think of Freedom 90 from George Michael, it has a very specific kind of, you know, there's a hook there that you're used to. You take it, you break it down, you know, you bust it open, you put the pieces back together to make it a Greg Gould version, and not you trying
Again, I
to.
am going to quote you. He puts, what you say, pull the pieces back together and make it the Greg Gould version. Love it.
But you do, and it comes out where it's like, you know, it's the song, but the standardization and the arrangement that you've put together for it makes it yours and makes it a wildly different version, which is exciting.
Yeah, look, I never want to. I mean, sure, I'm happy just to sing a song and do it justice. But if I'm going to release a version, my own version of a song, I want to make it my version. You know.
That you do. You've collaborated on a number of the covers, as we kind of talked about. I'm curious within the community, and I asked this about to a lot of queer artists, because we're at that point when I started doing this 5 years ago. I wasn't finding any queer artists that were out there. Since then, they're starting to find one another, and they're really starting to kind of gravitate towards
And
one
they're
another. And
being able to be open and be themselves as
yeah,
well, because the industry and the world is changing for sure.
and they're now collaborating together and creating some really interesting things, stories that we don't hear in music from different perspectives, which is phenomenal. I'm curious from your world and your kind of area that you're in, have you had a chance to do much of that, or is that something that you look to tap into, or if the right voice comes along, that kind of thing?
I don't necessarily go go looking. Well, I have it on this album. Oh, that's a lie. I've got a pretty important song on this record that I'll be sharing part of my story that I haven't before, and I have reached out to a predominant queer artist. And there's a few that I would love to work with. I'd love to work with Billy Porter. I would love to work with Brian Justin Crumb. Um,
Those are some
I,
names.
I think David Archuleta's a great singer, and I'm loving seeing him find his wings and be himself. Yeah, I mean, there's some great. Vincent's another one. I think he's phenomenal. Yeah, but even some older artists like Jake Shears, I think is phenomenal. Um, I mean,
There's a lot happening in your world in
they're all on a
Australia.
bucket list. So let's see how this album goes, and maybe they might be on the next one.
There's a lot of young artists kind of falling out of Australia these days that is really shaping different sounds, and giving Mardi Gras must be off the chain over there, because with the amount of artists that I see that are kind of coming out of the woodwork, it must be making things very exciting for you. And having, like, I mean, 2013 was 11 years ago, almost 11 years ago from when you were on the show. A lot has changed since then, and now kind of looking forward, how much has that changed in terms of your view of your own vision of future, of what you want to see in terms of what your hopes are for 2024, but just beyond?
I think Australia's always been a little bit behind. Um, I think Europe has been a lot more fabulous and queer and doing queer excellence for a lot longer than we have. Um, I just hope more people see themselves in the artists that are getting this success. I had very little to look up to in that area. I think probably one of the first would have been Sam Smith. They were one of the first at the time. For me, it was looking for a male. Obviously, they're non-binary now, but at the time, I was like, who are the people that I look to that are similar to me? And I do get compared to Sam Smith, which is a beautiful compliment. They're phenomenal. But I was looking for, George Michael was a huge influence on me, but even the way they treated him, that made me scared to be myself. What I want for the next generation and the young artists coming up is just to be fearlessly free to be themselves. There's I think now more than ever that there is no boundaries to what art should look like, and what that there are little Nas X is doing amazing things. Um, there's being queer and being yourself is the ticket. And there's a lot more artists coming out saying I'm queer, and that's part of who I am, and that's what makes me amazing, or makes me that, and my music is better because I'm being myself.
I say all the time, the next music frontier really is queer, because those stories have yet to be. They're just starting to get told. You're just starting to hear those representations reflected in music authentically. Without, I mean, even if you look at Sam Smith, and they had to come out and then come out again. In the largest arena of your life when it comes to music, and it's nice to see. And then now he has taken stick, of course, for for latest kinds of things, but I think that it's what it does is that it gives other people the runway to be a little bit more fearless, not have so much anxiety around it,
That
and
there's a
to
place for you, and there's an audience for you, and there's people that will
absolutely.
love you for that. And it feeds to even to Drag Race. I think that RuPaul's Drag Race has opened doors in that arena to be fiercely queer, and to celebrate queerness. I think that's another one. And shows like Pose, and it's a shame to see that the new Queer as Folk end after one series. I thought it was great. Um, you know, we're seeing more queer representation in all forms of media.
It's a good time to be queer in the arts. And I know that not necessarily everything's at the same level, and in some respects, it's almost assumed that there's representation or good representation in some art forms.
Or there's tokenism that they have to
Exactly.
represent. But you know what? I don't care. I'll be your token in terms of, if it means there's representation, sign us up. Because it needs to be there.
Well, I mean, the music speaks for itself. And when it comes to yours, and if you go back through, I will say you are not afraid to tackle issues, especially in video format. I love that. So video, I'm a kid of the MTV Much Music days. Video is so important to me, and I think that seeing video or stories reflected of our lives in video is really important. But you're not
So
afraid to
that's something
tackle.
that I would say is I do hope that more queer videos and music videos are featured. I'm working on the Love It All Out video is not it's not really a queer story, to be honest, but I'm working on that now. That comes out on the 27th of this month. We're tackling four important issues in that video. One is a story about body positivity. One is a story about homelessness. One is a story, a cancer survivor, and the other one is about domestic violence. And it's all about empowering all those people to breathe, to get through. The song is about allowing yourself to cry, scream, whatever you need to do to get through the muck, to get to the other side, because you have to go through it. You can't escape it. Go through it, and go through it, and know that I'll be there when you get to, and I'm holding your hand through it. I'll pull you through it if I need to. And when we get there, we're all just going to breathe it all in and then love it all out. Because so that the end goal is to be happy and to be okay.
What a segue. Um, love it
But
all
anyway,
out
you were
being
saying that you love the video, and I'm looking forward to the video because it's. I really want. I like music videos that matter, and that's what I try to do in my music and my videos.
I would say, Dick, you don't shy away from tackling topics, and I love that. You're not just painting it to make it look like a fun video or whatnot to make sure that you have one out there. You're actually using the space in a really formidable way, and I would say that with "Save Me a Seat," which was your last single off of from 2023, and it was the one that I actually got introduced to you with, and it was in such a
Oh,
poignant way because it was dedicated to Simon Dunn, who we lost in January of 2023. It's that being the
it's
first
actually
introduction
it's
for
just about
me.
his anniversary. Actually,
Yes,
is
and
when is his anniversary?
it's next week, I believe,
Oh
if I
wow.
remember the date properly.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You just reminded me.
But it really is.
21st. Oh my goodness, it's 3 days away.
So that introduction to you as an artist was really really powerful, because when that news broke, uh, people were very very shocked by it, and then to have the song come along and then that video, as an introduction to you as an artist, it really laid such a great foundation to kind of then go back and see, yeah, this is who you are as an artist, and there's so much emotion, and there's there's a palpable restraint, I think, in what you put out that represents you. And what I mean by that is it could easily go sideways and could become almost over the top with some of the topics
Me?
that you, but with some of the topics and with the sound of the music in your voice, oh my God, like you go from here to here in a
You know what's interesting?
heartbeat.
Can I touch on that for a minute, if you
Yeah,
don't mind?
absolutely.
From here to here, because obviously, yes, I have a big voice. I can do a lot of things, and I'm very blessed to have the voice that I have. Um, with this song, "Love It All Out," yes, there's some great vocals. But what I love about it is you have two singers that have huge voices. Both of us have big voices, but it's at not one point I find are we trying to show off, outdo each other, outsing, diva. Like it's actually not that. It's not. This song isn't about big notes. We're singing. I'm singing at the top of my voice without big belty. Like we're not. There's no big ad libs or anything like that.
Yeah,
Morissette has whistle tone in her voice. She's not that. This song required us to use us as a vessel. It needed to be what the song was, and yeah, that's interesting because on this album, I'm exploring that. Yes, there's of course songs with huge notes, but not every song needs that. Not every song has to have that. Sometimes it's about simple and honest, and I've
that's what
tried
I
to do that on
mean.
this album.
That restraint in terms of, and it's a bit of a respect, I guess, for the song and for yourself as an artist, where and production probably wise too. Your producer probably is really helpful in this respect in terms of you know helping kind of map out maybe some of the roadway within the song, because you do see some artists who know that they have those range and they feel that they have to fill the space with notes that aren't necessary. But your restraint, it comes in when it needs to come in. And you're right about you and Morissette, because listening to her back catalog and some of her songs, she does have some interesting places where she takes her voice.
Huge.
But you're not competing on the song for space.
Not every song is about big notes.
No.
Not every song. And to be honest, when I wrote Save Me a Seat for Simon, it never went up the octave. It wasn't until I got in the studio, and if I can
Yeah.
tell you a bit of a story. I found out about Simon 3 days before the world did. I got a phone call because his friend knew that I was good friends with him, and I was just completely stunned. I'm still stunned. I miss him. It's not okay that he's not here. And I think I'll always miss him. And it'll just be a sore spot in my heart forever, in all of our hearts. But anyway, because of that, I was so numb. And then I was asked to perform at his service, his funeral, which I did. Again, did not cry. I was so numb that I couldn't cry. Couldn't cry. Just felt numb and sick. It wasn't, when you lose a loved one, it's always sad, and especially if they're older, you'll still cry, but if they've had a long, good life, you feel grateful in a lot of ways.
Right.
He had more to give, and I think that's what was so sickening to me, that he had more to give, and it just was so sad because he was so young and so much life in him and so capable, and so I recorded this song about 7 months after he passed. Still hadn't cried one tear, and I just couldn't. And I had to talk about him in press, I had to talk about him on stage, lots of things. And it just was always just this numb feeling. Got in the studio, I wrote the song, didn't cry when I wrote the song. Wasn't until I got in the studio, and I purposefully turned the lights off in the studio for this song, because I wanted no distractions. I just wanted to connect with Simon and the song and really do it just and give it a really honest performance, not for anybody else but him. And I started singing the song. I got to the first chorus and I lost it. I completely lost it. And I'm talking, I had to take a break for the session, 15 minutes outside, but just to get it all out and burst my tears. It was also incredible in that way. And that's when I got back in the studio, and that's when I decided to take it up the octave. It wasn't written that way, and it just came out of me. Like I was ready to sing the last chorus, and I just went, I just took it right up there, and it came out of me. So yeah, sometimes it's a choice, and sometimes it just is a natural thing. And for him, that singing up the octave, it was just like me wanting to reach up to him. That's what it felt like, anyway.
If anything, I would say that probably during that time, you're going through press, you're going through a lot, you're writing a song, but it's his story and it's not necessarily about you. So it's, you get to a point where it is your environment, and that's when your catharsis is going to come in, and when you have a moment to have, your release. And it came out in such a beautiful song. And what's fantastic about the song, and as somebody who's lost parents and loved ones myself, and I think anybody can relate to this song transcends just one person. It really is about, that loss, and about the joy of one day seeing them again and being reunited with them
Save
again.
me a seat, yeah. And I think yes, you've hit the nail on the head. For me, that song will always, I will always sing it for Simon. But I did say that I also sing it for anyone that feels that great loss, and wants to connect with them. Music is healing, and you said cathartic, absolutely. And this writing the song was healing. I had to. I didn't know what to do. I felt helpless. I wanted to do something to honor him, you know. Um, and I think he'd be pretty proud. I got sorry. Whew.
No, it's
Sorry.
I've done my first Barbara Walters moment where somebody has cried on the show.
I think you would be proud.
I think so too, and I think that when you look at it and you think about how so much of news stories like that fall on details, fall on the person's left behind in the news a little bit, that coming at the other end to have this piece as a memorial to someone who is gone too soon, I think is incredible. I think for you as an artist, it must feel you know just amazing to have that, to be able to give that gift not only to him but his family and his friends, his fans, all of that. And kudos to you on that. And I was just, when I was thinking about this, I was like, this has only been a year. It's still soon. People think, well, it's been a year, but no, it's still soon. There's anniversaries and there's the first time for everything. And I was like, I think that people need to know that it exists. And yeah, so I would say kudos and congratulations to you on being able to accomplish it, first of all, because it can't be easy.
I'm proud of that song, and yeah, I'm proud to have and grateful to have connected with him. He connected with a lot of people online, but I was one of the people that was in his life and got to spend time with him. One of the best.
Um, well, we're not going to leave things on a dour note. Um, you're not. But I'm glad.
Congratulations on your Barbara Walters. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Just don't use these as a clickbait. Thank you.
But I'm thank you for sharing and being candid about that. And I do think that it's important to always remember those folks and what you've done for them. So
I think that,
oh,
that's right there. Right there is what I was just talking about. Music is healing. Crying is healing. Crying is the right emotion for what we were just talking about. And not being able to cry is holding in the emotion. It's letting it out. You've got to let it out. You got to breathe it all in and love it all out. Together we'll love it out.
now
That's
if
what the
folks
song's
didn't
about.
catch that, that is a lyric from the new song.
It
Um,
is.
and to bring it back to that, um, with this song, again, people, it may be out right now. Run right now. To
Don't walk, don't crawl, run.
exactly. Um, with this, how do you see? And this is a weird thing to ask because it's hard because you've never been in the same space. But how will you see you and Morissette, I guess, tackling this separate space, but such a great song where you're together on it, and helping it live? Do you
Well,
plan any kind of virtual performances or anything?
that, yes, I would love that. We're in talks about that. Obviously, the music video will be a big one. And I do have plans to head over to the Philippines. So, thankfully, music is timeless and it's different than what it used to be. It now lives. You only have to look at something like Lizzo's "Feeling Good as Hell." That was released in 2016, and it wasn't for I think 4 or 5 years later when she had her that Truth Hurts song, and she performed that and that song on the MTV or something awards, and that song became a sleeper hit.
Mhm.
You know, songs have a much longer life to them. So going over to the Philippines maybe later this year to re-promote the song will be fantastic. But I think she's got a very loyal fan base as well. It's like an army I've never experienced before because I'm getting to experience her little army because they've been very supportive to me, and thank you very much. Um, I think because we are in a digital age. I mean, the pandemic taught us that we can do a lot of things remotely, and we can stay connected. So, yeah, I think that we're both going to work hard in making sure that this song is heard.
I'm excited for it because I do, like I said, I love the nostalgia of it. And I think that what's
That's so
great is
crazy to me that you say that. I love that too. I love that it makes you feel like a classic song, but nostalgic, and it's a brand new song. It's a brand new original song. That makes me very, very happy.
I was instantly transported back to, and I'll even go back to the days of like Barbara Streisand and like Donna Summer and those kinds of classic duets
Do you
where
know what song
pop.
just came to mind? And I don't know if you're going to remember it. Somewhere out there.
Exactly, from
Linda
American
Ronstadt.
Tail. Linda Ronstadt and
Yes.
Carl,
Was
no, Peebo Bryson. I can't remember.
is it Peebo Bryson?
I'm not sure, but those were those kind of Gloria Loring and Friends and Lovers was a song. But with today's pop influence and with an artist like Morissette, who when you mentioned the army, I was when you're outside, we are so here in North America, sometimes just very, self-centered in terms of like what's happening around us, that you forget to dive into. I see it in through queer artists in other ways, but not to the extent that a Morissette will have a presence in the Philippines until you start looking up Morissette and you realize, oh my God, this lady is killing it.
She was first described to me as Asia's Mariah Carey. And I was
For
like,
sure.
I love Mariah Carey. Let me check this woman out. And then I was like, oh wow, I mean, she's got the range of hers, but what she has is her tone. It's her tone, and yet when you listen to "Love It All Out" on Spotify, thank you. Um, you listen when she first comes in with that. I see through the cold, harsh words. She has that tone, that depth, that connection that just speaks to you. It's like she's singing directly to you.
I am shocked that she is not more of, I guess, an international presence. Because when you
She's got
look
an
at her music,
online, like she's been viral a few times,
yeah,
but it's so crazy, right? Um, especially I can speak for Australian artists. Some of our biggest artists. Here we go. Let me see if you know any of these names. So our biggest artists, I guess, would be um, Guy Sebastian,
Guy Sebastian, Delta Goodrem,
Delta Goodrem. Okay, all right. Maybe you're the exception. I was going to see if you knew any of these names. Jessica Malboy.
Jessica, yeah.
Um, okay, so you're up on the Australian artists, but I was going to say they aren't huge. I mean, Delta's big in the UK, but these artists should be huge all around the world, and we seem to be only as big as they are here in Australia, and they deserve to be bigger overseas. Obviously, Guy Sebastian's had that Battle Scars song, and I think Oprah got behind it. That
Yeah.
helped, but I do think that we should be exporting more talent to that are winning Grammys and things like that.
It really is, because I look at that all the time. I mean, that's a huge thing for me, is where I look at international artists and I look at different countries and I say, how
You're in the
is it?
field. I was like, you mentioned Delta Goodrem. I'm like, all right, he's done his homework. He knows.
But I mean, when you look at music in general, and I mean, I love following Australian artists because there's something different. And I think it's something that I connect to, and maybe it's a Canadian thing. We do have a lot of artists that will go to Australia from Canada and tour over there, and they do really, really well. And they find really new, like big new fan bases. And vice versa at times. But there's this music border that happens within mainstream music that basically has a formula or something that the industry is looking for that cuts it off, and doesn't seem to allow as much flow as there should be, because there are some phenomenal artists. Morissette, to be honest, one of them, she has a rabid fan base. She is at the same level as most of these artists, like maybe not internationally, but within the Philippines, as a Beyonce. She is adored and loved. And to be on a record with her, and for her fans to be supporting you. I think that's
Really
what
beautiful.
the cool thing about music is.
It's so beautiful. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And I love them right back. Like I am feeling the love. So I hope they feel it back because it's, you know, it's really special. And I think, Australia is very different. We tend to love people once they've gone overseas, come back, and then we claim them as our own.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tall poppy here in Australia. That's not to say that I don't have a beautiful fan base here, but yeah, and I'm very proud to be Australian. But like the Filipino fans are like nothing I've ever experienced. It's incredible. So
Wow.
I hope to build up my relationship with the Filipino country and the people there because they're beautiful. So I think this is the start of my love affair with Philippines.
And it seems that they embrace everyone.
I'm getting message saying thank you for collaborating with our queen. Like I'm like, what? I mean, I'm the lucky one. Like, and she is a queen, and so am I.
Well, so the new song, Love It Out
Yes.
Loud. Is that right? Did I say that right?
We can love it out loud. Love it
Yes.
loud. Yes. Love it out loud though. Love it all. Love it as hard and as loud as you want, baby.
Love It All Out. Is out.
You said that like an Irishman. Love it all out.
That's the Canadian. That's the Canuck in me. The Eastern Canadian. Out January 19th, which is either today or a few days ago. So either way, people need to be getting out there and listening.
Depending when you're watching this, exactly.
And you need to follow Greg on Instagram at Greg Gould Music.
And if you're watching this on YouTube,
message.
You need to follow your channel, which is the Q Reviews. So yes. Hello.
But they need to message you and let them know that they've heard it and that they love it. They need to do these things.
I'm one of the people that does take the time to read everything, and I'm good, bad, the ugly. I don't respond to the ugly. I just go bye. But I also try to take the time to write back to everybody. So I do read your messages, and I love connecting with new fans and new people. So yeah.
Well, I'm going to play a snippet on the way out of the new song, but then to hear the full of it, you got to go and get to Spotify, stream that bad boy.
Snip away.
Thank you so much.
No problems. I think you need to come to Australia, and I can show you all the cool spots. I'll be your tour guide.
I do have friends. I do have friends
in low places down under.
Melbourne and Perth, and friends who were in Townsville but now are in another sector. I think they're closer to Brisbane, maybe. I can't correct
Brisbane. Yes. Well, I need to see more of Canada too, and I'm not going to say who, but I'm going to say this: a Canadian artist, and she is a queer icon.
Ooh.
To the point that one of her songs was lip synced on Canada's Drag Race.
Oh.
Your mind's ticking. I'm collaborating with her, and there'll be a song out this year. So maybe I need to come to Canada, honey.
You come, we will get you set up.
Done. You'll have to show me all the cool spots. Thank you for having me.
I don't know how cool I am to show you the cool spots, but I can show you some
hello,
spots.
You have a purple wall. You're the coolest kid ever. Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun. I can't believe you made me cry.
I know.
You owe me dinner.
We'll have a virtual dinner. I will Uber something to you.
Girl, I'm coming to Canada, so we will have a real dinner. Dinner's on me.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. And again, I can't wait to hear what's coming next after just this song, and I can't wait to see the visuals.
Yes. Look out for that. Thank you so much for having me.
We're gonna breathe it